Hi everybody, it's Gina here at the Library Mouse. Welcome to Vlogmas Day 2. Today I thought that I would go ahead and do a book tag because I've been tagged off in the last few months and I have not had the opportunity to really do any tags, very few. So Vlogmas is the perfect time to get some tags in. So I was recently tagged by Suey over at Suey's Book Banter. Go check her channel out. I'll link it below. She tagged me in the tag Reading in the Dark book tag. It is 7 questions. I thought that I could just zip through them right here. So let's get started. First of all, I want to say that the tag was created by Books I'm Into Reading. The first prompt is, did you ever read under the covers with a flashlight as a kid? No. My household was very strictly run, not in a bad way, but bedtime was bedtime. And as a child, I would not have had access to a flashlight. Everything had a spot, and if the flashlight was gone, my mother would have noticed. And she would have said, why? What are you doing with the flashlight? Why did you take the flashlight? So no, the only thing I ever got away with doing in my bed was I had a small transistor radio. Actually, hang on. This is the actual transistor radio that I had when I was a child. I got this, I believe, when I was in 4th grade for my birthday, and I slept with it under my pillow almost every night listening to music. So while I did not have a chance to read under the covers, I definitely listened to music under the covers. And I bet if I put batteries in this would still work. Question number 2. Do you read when you wake up in the middle of the night as an adult? Do you use your e-reader, booklight, light on your nightstand? I have a feeling this tag is going to be very boring. I don't read in the middle of the night when I wake up. I lay there. I don't read. If I get up, if I have insomnia so bad I'm laying there for hours, I usually get up and put YouTube on the television. Like, I get out of bed, because I have read that if you wake up in the middle of the night because you can't go back to sleep, you need to get out of bed to do something. Like, it breaks that thought in your mind. You like need to leave the bed and then come back to go to sleep. But I don't tend to read in the middle of the night. I don't know why, but I don't read. I don't do anything in bed. I do absolutely nothing in bed but sleep. I don't watch TV. I don't have a TV in my room. I don't read in bed. I don't talk on the phone. I don't eat. I don't do anything except sleep. Number 3, power outage. What have your reading experiences been when the lights won't turn on, the TV is dead, the computer is out? Do you read then? Share with us any memorable books or reading experiences during a power outage. I live in Western New York. We get power outages frequently. Blizzards, windstorms, ice storms, you name it, we get power outages. Can I sit here and say I remember a particular power outage and what book I read? No. I do remember 2 particular power outages, though, where I read to my children. Do I remember what I read to them? No. Probably a stack of picture books. Back in 1991, we had a huge ice storm here, and we were without power for 4 days. I actually used my little handy dandy radio. That was the only way I had to hear what was going on. It was scary. I really thought trees were going to fall on the house. It was freezing cold. I think it was in March, but I'm not positive, but it was very cold. And I remember my children, Shane was about 1.5 years, and Sarah was 6. She was turning 6. They were 6 and 2, I think. Yeah, 6. Yeah. Anyway, I moved them into the bedroom farthest away from any tree falling, and we sat and read picture books under the covers. So I definitely, that was like the most memorable power outage I have ever been through, that I actually did some reading. I am sure that I sat around the house and read because, you know, it was 1991. There was nothing else that we could really do. We played games. We couldn't go outside, obviously. But yeah. So the next prompt is reading ignorance. Did you ever read a book because you realized you were completely in the dark about a particular subject or genre? What was the book and the experience like? So very often I read to learn. Like, I like nonfiction. Most recently, I read a couple of books about Lilydale, which is a spiritualist community in Western New York that I wanted to learn more about, and the whole start of spiritualism, because I have friends who are definite believers, and I come into anything with 100% skepticism. So yeah, I am a skeptic of probably everybody and everything. So anytime I enter into a new genre, or, you know, I pick up a book to learn something, I'm always like, okay. So that is what that experience was like. Some of it I was like, oh, that's intriguing. And then on the other hand, I'm like, oh, okay. So that doesn't really answer the question very well, but I definitely am a person.
Times where I would be reading. This is not at night.
Sorry.
But where I would.
I've got Suey's video up. So that, I guess I've had a lot of experiences where I'm reading books that I am very ignorant about the topic, and generally I can come away with gleaning something from the books. I will put the 2 Lilydale books and spiritualism books I read up here. Reading blindly. Did you ever read a novel without knowing anything about it? You haven't read the back of the book or any reviews. You just jump in. So I did read a book. I read it on the recommendation of a friend, but I did not know anything about the book at all. They told me that I should read it because I think it was a person local to them who wrote it. I would not have jumped in to read the book if I didn't think the cover looked intriguing. But I really went into that book blindly. It's Florence Adler Swims Forever by Rachel Beanland. And let me see. It is, I want to tell you when it was published in 2020. And basically it takes place in 1934 in Atlantic City. And it's about a couple who rent the same house in Atlantic City every year. They move into this little apartment above their bakery, and they have a daughter who is determined to spend the summer training to swim the English Channel. But tragedy strikes, and the family winds up keeping this huge secret all summer. I enjoyed the book. I probably would have picked it up. If I saw it, I would have picked it up purely based on the cover. I thought the cover was really cute. And it's a cover that would have attracted me. So it was a good experience. It was a good experience. Very rarely do I start reading a book without reading a blurb. I don't really go by reviews that much. Like, it doesn't really, I don't really care what other people think of the book, but I do read the blurbs because there's certain books and genres that I really don't enjoy. Like, I don't enjoy fantasy. And so if the cover looks really good, but it's not like a jump in your face fantasy book, I probably would put it back if I saw that it was fantasy. So very rarely does that happen, but I mean, at the caveat, it was a recommendation. And last but not least, Epiphany. Oh, nope, not last but not least. Other Dark Places, Camping, Cars, Basements, the Movies. What other dark places have I read in maybe unexpectedly? Probably not unexpectedly, but as a child, I read in the car a lot. And I would read until it got pitch black. Like, my mother always said to me, you're gonna hurt your eyes. You're gonna hurt your eyes. You need the light. So I'd say to my dad, please turn on the overhead light so I can read. And he's like, no, I can't drive with the light on. So I would sit in my car and read until the very, very, very last possible second. And then I would have to stop. But yeah, reading in cars is probably, but I mean, I would read anywhere until I could not see to read anymore. So, and Epiphany, the lights are on. What book or books have given you a proverbial light bulb over your head? Something that really illuminated an idea to you. So, a book that really, really, really caused me to change my lifestyle, along with a couple of other things. But I think this book has had the most dramatic effect on me on a daily basis. And that is the book I think it's called Farm Sanctuary. Yeah, Farm Sanctuary, Changing Hearts and Minds About Animals and Food. It's written by Jean Bauer. So I combined the book Farm Sanctuary with a visit to Farm Sanctuary in Watkins Glen, New York. And I actually volunteered for a work day there one day. But that book changed how I thought of eating animals. And my son had a girlfriend at the time who was vegan, and he brought her home, and I wasn't sure what to make. We were a meat, potatoes, vegetable family. And it made me delve into like, oh, what can I fix her? Like, and so I started to get intrigued by that. But I think I was very blind and naive about what went on in slaughterhouses. And once I read that book, and you know what, I also became aware of these animals as being sentient beings, and I'm an animal lover, obviously. Why I did not equate that, like being a lover of animals and eating meat. And this is not I know people get really upset when people who don't eat meat or who are vegan or vegetarian start talking about it. But this definitely goes with the prompt. But for myself, I didn't, in my mind, put these two together. And after reading that book and hearing the stories about how he started Farm Sanctuary and the animals that he has saved, and then going to Farm Sanctuary, if you have never cuddled a turkey, you are missing out. They love to be pet. And we sat in the turkey barn and they came up and we just pet them and cuddled them. And I would never be able to eat a turkey again in my life. And that book changed my life probably more than any other book has. So, on that note, I think that's the end. Tag some booktubers. So, I'll find some to tag down below, but hopefully you enjoyed that little Reading in the Dark book tag. Come back to Vlogmas Day 3, please. And I'll see you on the next video. Happy reading. But before we go, we have our interactive question game, our Vlogmas Get to Know Me game. What would you choose? If you watched a Vlogmas Day 1 video, you will have seen my answer to the emoji that would be representing me on that particular day. And if you watched, hopefully you answered in the comment section below. So for day 2, the question is, you have been handed a one-way plane ticket to anywhere. Where would you choose to go? This is a hard one because it's one way, and I would never want to leave where I live because my family lives here. But if I was just going to go one way and stay for a little while, I think that I would, there's so many places, but I think I would like to go to Abruzzi, Italy, where my great-grandfather was born. And I would like, and because the village is very small, I think that I could meet some distant relatives. So I think that I would choose Abruzzi, Italy for my one-way ticket. How about you? Where would you choose to go and why? See you on Vlogmas Day 3 with question number 3.